Welcome to this step-by-step acrylic painting tutorial using Brusho. If you don't know what Brusho is, I will put a link in the description below where I've made a video all about Brusho. And I'm going to be using it along with acrylic paints to paint these very pretty thistles straight out of my imagination. So I really hope you enjoy this tutorial, and if you do and you'd like to see more like it, don't forget to subscribe to my acrylic painting channel where you will get updates of my latest tutorials. And if you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comments section below. So shall we get started? So first things first, I'm going to show you quickly how I make my own homemade Stay Wet palette. I've got a plastic box, paper towel, chuck some water on, cover that paper towel, and then run all the excess water away. So you've sort of saturated your paper towel. What happens with acrylics is when they're in the palette, after a while they can dry out very quickly. So once you've got your paper towel wet, you just put on some grease-proof paper, which is what I'm doing now, press it down, and you're good to go. And as long as the paper towel stays damp, your acrylics won't dry out. And I've just got my water pot there. I've got my acrylic paper, some washi tape around the edge to create a white border. I'm using a flat 1/2 inch brush, and I'm putting on some watered down permanent magenta acrylic paint, but you can use any pink here, any pink will do. And I'm using it in a watercolor style to begin with, just to really sort of loosen up. And I'll be using the Brusho to sort of tap on top of this, and it's like a crystallized ink, and it creates these amazing explosive textured effects. I just love it. So I thought I usually paint and use Brusho with my watercolors, but I've decided to use it with my acrylics also. So I'm just applying now the light green using primary blue and cadmium yellow, and I'm just spritzing the paint just to stop it from drying out. If you'd like to get a full list of my materials, click show more or the little down arrow, and it'll take you to the description where you will get a full list of all the materials I'm using along with color alternatives. But you may have already spotted I'm only using 3 primary colors. I will be using a little bit of white later as well, but it's just the 3 primary colors. So if you don't have many acrylics, this tutorial is for you. You don't have to have much materials. So I've just put on a little bit more of the pink, and I'm dropping it in wet as I would do in watercolor painting. And the beauty of this sort of mixed media style of painting in a way is that if it goes wrong, you've got your acrylic paint, you can just paint over the top afterwards. So it takes all that pressure off. So I'm just mixed up some of the blue, some of the yellow here, painting damp into damp, and then using my little small round brush here and just pulling out some spiky bits around the edge of the green area there, and then just painting in a stem. This is a light green, so there's lots of yellow mixed with the blue. So I'm using a little bit of pink now, watered down pink, and I've given my little thistle on the right hand side here a spatter. I've mixed a bit more blue into the yellow with a touch of pink to make a really sort of nice dark green colour, and I'm going to paint this damp into damp now. The paint's slightly thicker now, so it's a little bit 50-50, 50% water, 50% paint, and I've actually added a little bit more pink in there really to create a lovely shadow colour. So it's make-believe, this is made up, but I have decided my light is coming from the left and above just to keep that consistent. So I'm painting this top thistle here as well, same sort of technique, working wet into wet, the pink at the top and then the yellow green and then the shadow colour, and just still using this little round brush and then pulling out, as I am doing here with the bottom of my paintbrush, some of the sort of sharp little thistles, the little pointy bits there, and then painting in the stem, all wet on dry here, and then maybe just using that mid green to paint some of the very sort of distinctive leaves. I've decided to sprinkle a little bit of salt onto the damp surface here, see what happens there. It sort of absorbs the paint and creates texture. This is Alizarin Crimson Brusho, and I'm just sort of tapping it onto the wet surface, the very wet surface, as you can see in the middle there. I've actually punctured a very small hole into the top of this little drum of Brusho and then tap so that the little crystallized inks just fall onto the wet surface and create some yummy results. I actually quite like the painting like that. It's quite sort of expressive, so you could almost leave it there. I'm going to carry on though, and I'm just sort of painting quite an abstracty sort of background of pink blobs and green marks, just to show sort of almost a make-believe sort of garden of thistles here and there. So I'm just quickly working my way wet on dry in the background. I have to say I'm not too sure about the background now. I think I got a bit carried away. I'm spattering to see if I can remedy it a little bit, but I kind of wish I'd left it how it was before with the three thistles there. So let's see what we can do. I'm mixing up a little bit of pink here and I'm just trying to rescue this one on the left. And it's really useful for me as a teacher to show you that when things do kind of go wrong or not your way, there's ways of getting around it. Whatever you do, don't panic. So I've sort of just put a little bit more pink paint on there, touch more Brusho. As you can see, the Brusho is just sort of reacting to the water there. And I'm using a little bit of olive green now as well. And I'm just tapping it onto the green area of each thistle. And I'm going to give them a little spritz as well with my spritzer bottle to activate it. Otherwise the powder will just sit there and fall off if you move your painting. So that's quite nice. It's sort of brought it back to life a little bit, and I'm just lifting off this puddle here. I think otherwise it will take hours for it to dry. It's funny, when you want it to dry quickly, it never does, and when you don't want it to dry too quickly, it does. But I'm just pulling out some edges there with the pink paint as well. So the painting has dried. I actually quite like the way it's dried. I think some of the background is a little bit OTT. So I'm going to use a little bit of yellow, blue and white, making a very yellow green. And this is actually using acrylics in a traditional way, no water except for a damp brush. And I'm just going to now paint the negative space. That's the space in the background around these thistles and bring them to life again. So as I say, there's ways around these things, and never panic, especially if you're using acrylic paints. So, and also I've got a few happy accidents in the background, so I'm going to try to bring those to life. I quite like the bottom left hand corner. There's almost a thistle sort of in the background there, so I'm going to see if I can keep that. So I'm going to work my way around now using the tip of my flat brush as well, blocking in, changing the green colour slightly every now and again. I don't want to use just one colour, just really mixing it up, nice bright spring green colours, and blocking it in rather than sort of blending everything, so you can see the flat sort of marks that this brush makes. Quite exciting. So as you can see here, I'm sort of bringing out this thistle that sort of appeared in my sort of abstract background from earlier, and I'm just sort of building it up with a little bit more watered down pink paint there, and I quite like it. And I'm putting a little bit of the Brusho on, and I'm going to give it a spritz as well to activate it, and hopefully it'll create a little bit of magic as well. So while that's doing its thing, I'm going to work on the sort of foliage or green of the thistles, mixing up some yellow and blue and sort of creating just all the lovely textured marks here and there using my round brush. Sorry you can't see that my hand is in the way, but as you can see I've got little sort of marks there and changing angles and things like that as well. This is all wet on dry. And as you can see, the darker green makes such a difference, and I've kept the dark on the right hand side as well. I'm just blocking in now the stem and some of those spiky leaves that I've lost, so I'm just painting them in again. I'm just finishing off now with a spatter on the right hand side and on top of each thistle there, just to create a little bit more sparkle and light. It's a great way of finishing a painting. It stops all the fiddling and overworking as well. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I really hope you enjoyed it and it inspires you to have a go at painting thistles or something out of your imagination, some flowers, and be really expressive. And if you've got some Brusho and acrylic paint, have a little go. If you don't have Brusho, just use spattering instead. Remember, if you have any questions, put them in the comments section below. And if you like this tutorial, subscribe if you don't want to miss any of my future videos. Thank you again for watching. Happy painting. Bye for now.